Bennett, Bingaman, Boxer, Burr, Cantwell, Carden, Chambliss, Conrad, Cornyn, Crapo, Enzi, Gillibrand, Harkin, Hoven, Isaacson, Johans, Johnson of South Dakota, Klobuchar, Landrieu, Levin, Manchin, Mikulski, Moran, Murkowski, Murray, Nelson of Nebraska, Nelson of Florida, Pryor, Reed of Nevada, Risch, Roberts, Sanders, Schumer, Shelby, Stabenow, Tester, Udall of New Mexico, Bitter. Mr. Lieberman, no. Mr. Rockefeller, no. Mr. Cochran, no. Mr. Rubio, no. No. Mrs. Hagan, no. Mrs. Hutchison, aye. Mr. Alexander, aye. Mr. Carey, no. Ms. Snow, aye. Mr. Akaka, no. Mr. Leahy, no. Mr. Cornyn, aye. Mr. McConnell, aye. Mr. Casey, aye. Mr. Franken, no. Mr. Udall of Colorado, no. Mr. Inhofe, no. Mr. Warner, aye. Mr. Wicker, no. Mr. Thune, no. Mr. Grassley. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown of Ohio, aye. Mrs. McCaskill. Mrs. McCaskill, aye. Mr. Menendez, aye. Mr. Merkley. Mr. Merkley, aye. Mr. Coons, aye. Mr. Lautenberg. Mr. Lautenberg, aye. Baucus. Mr. Baucus, no.
Are there any senators who wish to vote or to change their vote? On this vote, the yeas are 46, the nays are 53. The amendment is not agreed to.
Go for it.
Mr. President.
Senator from Minnesota is recognized.
Mr. President, I call up my amendment number 2299.
You come to order. The clerk will report.
The Senator from Minnesota, Ms. Klobuchar, proposes amendment number 2299.
Mr. President, I ask that further reading of the amendment be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I rise today to urge my colleagues to support this bipartisan amendment. Senator Hoeven of North Dakota is a co-sponsor. It helps address the transportation needs of rural America. This amendment simply calls for a study on rural transportation and takes a close look at the issue of captive shippers. Farmers, energy producers, and manufacturers who depend on freight rail service find themselves trapped today in a back-to-the-future world, Mr. President, struggling with a problem that has resurfaced from a century ago. Many of these end users, these captive customers, have only one railroad to serve them. 3 decades ago, there were 63 class railroads. Today, only 7 remain. This amendment simply looks at the effect of this situation on transportation in rural areas. It's supported by nearly 40 national and regional agricultural and energy organizations. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I'd ask for a voice vote.
Mr. President.
The Senator from Michigan.
Mr. President, I strongly support Senator Klobuchar's amendment and appreciate her great work on this. I would yield back all time, and it's my understanding we can proceed to a voice vote.
If there's no further debate, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The amendment is adopted.
Mr. President.
Senator from Utah.
I have a motion at the desk.
Clerk will report.
The Senator from Utah, Mr. Lee, moves to recommit the bill as 3240 to the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition and Forestry with instructions to report the same back to the Senate with a reduction in spending to 2008 levels so that overall spending shall not exceed $714,247,000,000.
There will now be 2 minutes of debate equally divided. Senator from Utah.
Mr. President, I've introduced this motion to recommit to move us back to 2008 levels. We cannot continue to kick this can down the road in perpetuity. Our current spending levels threaten to impair our ability to fund everything, from defense to entitlements and everything that falls in between. This is a good start, and this is something that would cut the 10-year cost of this bill by $254 billion. We need to do it. We need to send it back to the committee, where the committee will have discretion to decide exactly how to accomplish that. I reserve the balance of my time.
Madam President.
The senator from Michigan is recognized.
Mr. President, I would strongly oppose this motion to recommit. I want to read to you from the cost estimate of the bill prepared by the Congressional Budget Office. This bill spends $23.6 billion, less than we project would be spent if those programs were continued as under current law. This bill is $23 billion in deficit reduction, according to the nonpartisan independent Congressional Budget Office. Frankly, we believe in agriculture on a bipartisan basis. We have done our job. We have scoured every page, reduced the deficit by $23 billion plus, eliminated 100 different programs and authorizations within our jurisdiction. I think, frankly, we are offering up within what we can do reform and deficit reduction that we should all feel very proud of.
Madam President.
The senator is recognized.
I believe I have about 20 seconds remaining. If you want to continue on the same budgeting process that's put us nearly $16 trillion in debt, then we can proceed and just vote against this. But if, on the other hand, we want to turn this around, maintain our ability to fund essential government programs, we need to pass this. I urge my colleagues to support the motion to recommit. I call for the yeas and nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be a sufficient second.
Just a second.
Senator from Michigan.
That this bill turns us in a different direction, $23 billion plus in deficit reduction. It may be the only bipartisan deficit reduction proposal we pass in the Senate before the election. I urge a no vote.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka, Mr. Alexander, Ms. Ayotte, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Baucus, Mr. Begich, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bingaman, Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blunt, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Boxer. How are you? Mr. Brown of Massachusetts. Mr. Brown of Ohio. Mr. Burr. Ms. Cantwell. Mr. Cardin, Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Chambliss.
Mr. Buck votes yes.
Mr. Coates. Mr. Coburn. Mr. Cochran. Ms. Collins. Mr. Conrad. Mr. Coons. Mr. Corker. Mr. Cornyn. Mr. Crapo. Mr. Dement. Mr. Durbin. Mr. Enzi. Mrs. Feinstein. Mr. Franken. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mr. Graham. Mr. Grassley. Mrs. Hagan. Mr. Harkin. Mr. Hatch. Mr. Heller. Mr. Hoven. Mrs. Hutchison. Mr. Inhofe. Mr. Inouye. Mr. Isaacson, Mr. Johans, Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin, Mr. Johnson of South Dakota, Mr. Kerry, Mr. Kirk. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Cole. Mr. Kyle. Ms. Landry, Mr. Lautenberg, Mr. Leahy. Mr. Lee. Mr. Levin. Mr. Lieberman.
Yes. Aye.
Mr. Lugar. Mr. Manchin. Mr. McCain. Mrs. McCaskill. Mr. McConnell. Mr. Menendez. Mr. Merkley. Ms. Mikulski. Mr. Moran. Ms. Murkowski. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Nelson of Nebraska. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Mr. Paul. Mr. Portman. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Reed of Rhode Island. Mr. Reed of Nevada. Mr. Risch. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Sessions, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Shelby. Ms. Snow. Ms. Stabenow, Mr. Tester. Mr. Thune, Mr. Toomey. Mr. Udall of Colorado. Mr. Udall of New Mexico. Mr. Vitter. Mr. Warner, Mr. Webb. Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wyden. Senators voting in the affirmative: Blunt, Burr, Coburn, Cornyn, Crapo, Dement, Enzi, Hatch, Inhofe, Johnson of Wisconsin, Lee, Moran, Murkowski, Paul, Roberts, Sessions, Toomey, and Wicker. Mr. Tester. Mr. Shelby. Aye. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Risch. Mr. Risch, aye. Senators voting in the negative: Alexander, Bennett, Bingaman, Boxer, Brown of Massachusetts, Cantwell, Carper, Casey, Chambliss, Coates, Collins, Conrad, Coons, Durbin, Feinstein, Franken, Gillibrand, Hagan, Hoven, Isaacson, Johans, Johnson of South Dakota, Carey, Klobuchar, Cole, Landrieu, Lautenberg, Leahy, Lieberman, Lugar, Manchin, McCaskill, Menendez, Murray, Nelson of Nebraska, Nelson of Florida, Reed of Rhode Island, Reed of Nevada, Rockefeller, Sanders, Shaheen, Stabenow, Tester, Thune, Warner, Whitehouse, and Wyden. Mr. Cardin, no. Mr. Akaka. Mr. Akaka, no. Mr. Heller. Mr. Heller, aye. Mr. Bozeman. Merkley. Mr. Merkley, no. Mr. Inhofe. Mr. Inhofe, no. Mr. Webb. Mr. Webb, no. Mr. Levin. Mr. Levin, no. Mr. Blumenthal. Mr. Blumenthal, no. Mr. Corker. Mr. Corker, aye. Mr. Udall. Mr. Udall of Colorado, no. Mr. Cochran. Mr. Cochran, no. Mr. Heller, no. Yes. Ms. Ayotte, aye. Mr. Harkin. Mr. Harkin, no. Mr. Udall. Mr. Udall of New Mexico, no. Ms. Mikulski. Ms. Mikulski, no. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Pryor, no. No. Ms. Snow, no. Schumer. Mr. Schumer, no. Baucus. Mr. Baucus, no. Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown of Ohio, no. Mr. Rubio, aye. Mr. Begich, no. Mr. Vitter? Aye. Mr. McCain? Mr. McCain? Aye. Mr. Kyle? Aye. Mrs. Hutchison? No. Mr. Graham? Mr. Graham? Aye. Mr. Barrasso? Aye. Mrs. Hutchison? Mrs. Hutchison? Aye. Mr. Portman? No. Mr. McConnell? Mr. McConnell? Aye. Mrs. Hutchison? No. Mr. Grassley? Mr. Grassley? No.
Okay, this is the not agreed to. It's 29. Okay, so 29 yeas. Are there any senators who wish to vote or to change their vote? On this vote, the yeas are 29, the nays are 70. The amendment is not agreed to.
Madam President.
The senator from Michigan is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. We've been hard at work to pull together some amendments that we can do as a voice vote together, and I would ask unanimous consent that the following amendments, which are in order under the consent agreement, be agreed to. Ayotte 2195, Blunt 2246, Moran 2403, Moran 2443, and Vitter 2363, as modified with the changes at the desk.
Is there objection? Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you.
Madam President.
The senator from Delaware is recognized.
Madam President, I call up amendment number 2287, and I ask unanimous consent that the reading of the amendment be dispensed with.
The senator from Delaware, Mr. Carper, proposes amendment number 2287.
Madam President, can we have order?
Could we please have order for the senator from Delaware? There will now be 2 minutes of debate equally divided.
Thank you, Madam President. Roughly two-thirds of the cost of raising a chicken is the cost of feed, and in recent years the cost of feed, including the cost of corn, has, as we know, risen dramatically, raising with it the cost of chicken and other meats in our supermarkets. These rising costs have placed a strain on poultry industry, among others, and on consumers, too. That's why I've joined with Senator Boozman in offering an amendment to this bill that makes improving the efficiency, digestibility, and nutritional value of feed for poultry and livestock, including corn, soybean meal, grains, and other grain byproducts, a top research priority at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. By improving the feed used to raise our chickens and livestock, we can provide the poultry and livestock industry with a greater variety of feed choices for their operations. But this research will not only benefit our country's food producers, it also benefits our nation's families by continuing to provide consumers with affordable, high-quality food, and Senator Boozman and I urge its adoption.
The senator from Michigan.
Madam President, I commend Senator Carper, and I have to say that he's mentioned to me many times that there are 300 chickens for every person in Delaware, so I think I have that in my memory now. I want to commend him for his work. We are yielding back time, and we have agreed to a voice vote.
There is no further debate.
If there is no further debate, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the amendment is agreed to.
Madam President, I have a motion at the desk.
The senator from Wisconsin is recognized. The clerk will report the motion.
The senator from Wisconsin, Mr. Johnson, moves to recommit the bill as 3240 to the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry of the Senate with instructions to report the same back to the Senate after removing the title relating to nutrition and to report to the Senate as a separate bill the title related to nutrition.
There will now be 2 minutes of debate equally divided.
Madam
Senator
President,
from Wisconsin.
Madam President, this is a pretty straightforward motion. It recommits the bill and would send it back to the committee to have that committee report back to the full Senate 2 separate bills. It recognizes the reality that what we really have in front of us is not really a farm bill, but a food stamp bill. I mean, the history here is that in 1964, we made food stamps permanent. In 1973, we combined the food stamp portion with the farm bill to ease passage of both votes, to make it easier to spend money. And that's worked pretty well, because when the food stamp bill was first passed, it cost $375 million per year, and really 500,000 people were eligible. Since that point in time, it is now going to cost $772 billion over 10 years, and it is now 78% the size of this entire package. So again, I think it's more than appropriate to split these bills in 2 so that both bills, the food stamp bill and the Farm Bill would get more scrutiny and be more debate. Thank you.
Who yields time? Is there a sufficient second? Senator from Michigan.
Excuse me, Madam President. I rise to oppose the motion to recommit. I think after all of the hard work that we've been doing, I'm not sure we want to do it twice this year on a farm bill. But on a more serious note, let me just indicate that, again, this is major reforms, $23 billion plus in deficit reduction. It addresses the diversity of agriculture. 16 million jobs in this country are connected to agriculture in every corner of our country, and all of us have a stake in food security. We have the safest, most affordable food supply in the world, thanks to a lot of hardworking folks all across this country. And we believe what we have put forward is something worthy of support. We appreciate all the hard work that everyone's doing, the changes that are being made, but I would urge that we not recommit this bill.
Madam President, I ask for yeas and nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be a sufficient second. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka, Mr. Alexander, Ms. Ayat, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Baucus, Mr. Begich, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bingaman, Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blunt, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Boxer, Mr. Brown of Massachusetts, Mr. Brown of Ohio, Mr. Burr, Ms. Cantwell, Mr. Cardin, Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Coates, Mr. Coburn, Mr. Cochran, Ms. Collins, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Coons, Mr. Corker, Mr. Cornyn. Mr. Crapo. Mr. Dement. Mr. Durbin. Mr. Renzi. Mrs. Feinstein. Mr. Franken. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mr. Graham.
I'm a no back.
Mr. Grassley. Mrs. Hagan. Mr. Harkin. Mr. Hatch. Mr. Heller. Mr. Hoven. Mrs. Hutchison. Mr. Inhofe. Mr. Inouye. Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Johans. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin. Mr. Johnson of South Dakota. Mr. Kerry. Mr. Kirk. Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Cole, Mr. Kyle, Conrad. Ms. Landrieu, Mr. Lautenberg, Mr. Cork. Mr. Leahy, Mr. Lee, Mr. Levin, Mr. Lieberman, Mr. Lugar, Mr. Lugar, Mr. Manchin. Mr. McCain. Mrs. McCaskill. Mr. McConnell, Mr. Menendez, Mr. Merkley, Ms. Mikulski. Mr. Moran. Ms. Murkowski. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Nelson of Nebraska. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Mr. Paul. Mr. Portman. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Reed of Rhode Island. Mr. Reed of Nevada. Mr. Risch. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shelby. Ms. Snow. Ms. Stabenow. Mr. Tester. Mr. Thune. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Udall of Colorado. Mr. Udall of New Mexico. Mr. Vitter. Mr. Warner. Mr. Webb. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wyden. Mr. Webb. Mr. Webb, no. Mr. Udall of Colorado, no. Ms. Cantwell.
And they're both no.
Ms. Cantwell, no. Senators voting in the affirmative: Barrasso, Blunt, Bozeman, Burr, Carper, Chambliss, Coburn, Corker, Cornyn, Crapo, DeMette, Enzi, Graham, Grassley, Hatch, Heller, Hutchison, Isaacson, Johans, Johnson of Wisconsin, Lee, McConnell, Moran, Murkowski, Hall, Portman, Risch, Roberts, Rubio, Shelby, Thune, Bitter, and Wicker. Mr. Tester. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Toomey. Aye. Mr. Casey. Mrs. Shaheen. Mr. Inhofe. Mr. Inhofe, aye. Mr. Coates. Mr. Coates, aye. Mrs. Murray. Senators voting in the negative: Akaka, Begich, Bennett, Bingaman, Blumenthal, Boxer, Brown of Massachusetts, Cantwell, Casey, Cochran, Collins, Conrad, Coons, Feinstein, Gillibrand, Hoeven, Johnson of South Dakota, Klobuchar, Cole, Landrieu, Lautenberg, Leahy, Levin, Lugar, Menendez, Merkley, Mikulski, Murray, Nelson of Nebraska, Nelson of Florida, Pryor, Reed of Rhode Island, Reed of Nevada, Rockefeller, Sanders, Schumer, Shaheen, Tester, Udall of Colorado, Udall of New Mexico, Webb, Whitehouse, and Wyden. Mrs. Hagan, no. Ms. Snow. Ms. Snow, no. Mr. Lieberman. Mr. Lieberman, no. Mr. Franken. Mr. Franken, no. Mr. Harkin. Mr. Harkin, no. Mr. Kyle. Mr. Kyle, aye.
Not yet. This is a Johnson motion to recommit.
Mr. Manchin, no. Mr. McCain. Mr. McCain, aye. Mr. Kerry. Mr. Kerry, no. Mr. Inouye. Mr. Inouye, no. Mr. Warner, no. Mrs. Feinstein. Mrs. Feinstein, already voted. Mr. Cardin. Mr. Cardin, no. Mr. Baucus. Mr. Baucus, no.
I don't get that.
Mr. Carper, no. Ms. Ayotte. Ms. Ayotte, aye. Ms. Stabenow. Ms. Stabenow, no. Mr. Brown of Ohio, no. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Sessions, aye. Mr. Durbin. Mr. Durbin. No. Mrs. McCaskill, no. I do. Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander, aye.
Are there any senators wishing to vote or change their vote? If not, the vote on to recommit is 40 ayes and 59 nays. The motion to recommit did not have sufficient funds. Is not agreed to.
Mr. President.
Senator from Vermont.
Mr. President, I call up my amendment number 2254.
Clerk will report.
The senator from Vermont, Mr. Sanders, proposes amendment number 2250.
Mr. President, I ask that further reading be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, this is a non-controversial amendment which, according to the CBO, has zero cost. It is supported by the National Wildlife Federation, the American Forest Foundation, the Biomass Thermal Energy Council, and the Trust for Public Land. This amendment would simply allow, under the Community Wood Energy Program, a new category of small grants to be created which would provide seed capital for biomass.
Order in the Senate, please. Senator from Vermont.
A new category of small grants to be created which would provide seed capital for biomass cooperatives through grants of up to $50,000. These cooperatives would have the opportunity to work with local wood pellet or wood chip manufacturers to supply bulk purchases that provide consumers with modest discounts. This amendment can help our nation move forward to more locally produced renewable biomass heating. Once again, according to the CBO, it has zero cost. And I would ask for the support of my colleagues.
Mr. President,
Senator from Michigan.
I support the amendment from the senator from Vermont and yield back time, and it's my understanding we can proceed to a voice vote.
Is there further debate on the amendment? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. Amendment is adopted.
Mr. President,
From Michigan.
I would ask unanimous consent that the adoption of this...
Senate will be in order. Senate will be in order. Senator from Michigan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask unanimous consent that the adoption of the Vitter Amendment 2363 as modified be vitiated, and further the Vitter Amendment as modified be subject to a 60 affirmative vote threshold. And I would turn now to Senator Vitter.
Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, Senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, I appreciate that unanimous consent, and I ask for it. Of course, I want and expect this amendment to pass, but I know some members expected a vote, and I certainly wanted to provide them that vote with a 60-vote threshold. But I do urge support of this bipartisan amendment. It does two things. First of all, it clears up a situation in the context of the film industry where there is certain unintended regulation of extras and actors bringing their pets on the set. That all of a sudden is being captured by regulation which is intended for zoo animals and circus animals and things like that. There is no opposition to this part of the amendment at all. Secondly, because of the modification which adds provisions supported by myself and Senators Blumenthal and Kirk and others, that would make it illegal under federal law to attend an animal fight. It's already outlawed to help organize an animal fight under federal law. It's also illegal to attend one under state law in 49 states. Making federal law similar to that state law will help federal authorities work with local government in sting operations, and that's what they normally do, and I ask support of this amendment.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
I've been in contact with Senator McConnell. We've made good progress here. The goal tonight is to get down to 10 votes. So once we're at 10 votes, we're going to stop for the night. We should be able to do that within the next hour or hour and a half, give or take a few minutes. So I think the goal is reachable. We'll come in tomorrow. We have some important votes tomorrow. And don't forget we have flood insurance. I hope that we can move up the vote on cloture on flood insurance tomorrow. If not, we're going to have to vote on Friday. But we've done that in the past, but really we should be able to do that if people have schedules on Friday. So the goal is 10 votes left by the time we leave here this evening.
Is there further debate on the Vitter Amendment? Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be.
Mr. President, if I might, I'm not sure if we have any opposition. I just rise in strong support of this amendment. We know that there are members that wanted the opportunity to vote and record a no vote, but I hope that overwhelmingly, since we already passed this by voice vote a bit ago, that we will have an overwhelming vote affirmatively for this amendment. I would urge a yes vote.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka, Mr. Alexander, Ms. Ayotte, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Baucus, Mr. Begich, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bingaman, Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blunt, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Boxer, Mr. Brown of Massachusetts, Mr. Brown of Ohio, Mr. Burr, Ms. Cantwell. Mr. Cardin, Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Coates, Mr. Coburn, Mr. Cochran, Ms. Collins, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Coons, Mr. Corker, Mr. Cornyn, Mr. Crapo, Mr. Demint, Mr. Durbin. Mr. Enzi. Mrs. Feinstein. Mr. Franken. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mr. Graham. Mr. Grassley. Mrs. Hagan. Mr. Harkin. Mr. Hatch. Mr. Heller. Mr. Hoven. Mrs. Hutchison. Mr. Inhofe. Mr. Inouye. Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Johans. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin. Mr. Johnson of South Dakota. Mr. Kerry. Mr. Kirk. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Cole. Mr. Kyle. Ms. Landrieu. Mr. Lautenberg. Mr. Leahy. Mr. Lee. Mr. Levin. Mr. Lieberman. Mr. Lugar. Mr. Manchin. Mr. McCain. Mrs. McCaskill. Mr. McConnell. Mr. Menendez. Mr. Merkley. Ms. Mikulski. Mr. Moran. Ms. Murkowski. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Nelson of Nebraska. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Mr. Paul. Mr. Portman. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Reed of Rhode Island. Mr. Reed of Nevada. Mr. Risch. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Sessions. Mrs. Shaheen. Mr. Shelby. Ms. Snow. Ms. Stabenow. Mr. Tester. Mr. Soon. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Udall of Colorado. Mr. Udall of Colorado, Mr. Udall of New Mexico, Mr. Vitter, Mr. Warner,
Oh, really?
Mr. Webb, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Senators voting in the affirmative: Akaka, Ayotte, Barrasso, Blunt, Brown of Massachusetts, Brown of Ohio, Cantwell, Chambliss, Collins, Coons, Corker, Cornyn, Crapo, Enzi, Feinstein, Franken, Gillibrand, Graham, Hatch, Hoeven, Inhofe, Isaacson, Johans, Johnson of Wisconsin, Johnson of South Dakota, Klobuchar, Kyle, Lautenberg, Levin, Lieberman, Lugar, Manchin, McCain, Merkley, Mikulski, Murkowski, Murray, Nelson of Florida, Portman, Pryor, Reed of Rhode Island, Reed of Nevada, Risch, Rockefeller, Shaheen, Tester, Udall of Colorado, Udall of New Mexico, Vitter, Warner, and Whitehouse. Mr. Carper, aye. Ms. Snow, aye. Mr. Thune, aye. Mr. Bozeman, aye. Mr. Blumenthal, aye. Mr. Shelby, aye. Mr. Casey, aye. Mr. Heller, aye. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Bennett, aye. Mr. Begich, aye. Mr. Wyden, aye. Mr. Toomey, aye. Ms. Landrieu, aye. Mrs. McCaskill, aye. Mr. Bingaman. Senators voting in the negative: Bingaman, Coburn, Conrad, DeMint, Inhofe, Lee, Nelson of Nebraska, Hall, and Sessions. Mr. Graham, no. Mr. Sanders, aye. Mr. Alexander, no. Mr. Burr, no. Mr. Wicker, aye. Mrs. Boxer, aye. Mr. Cochran, aye. Mr. Harkin, aye. Mr. Cole, aye. Mr. Leahy, aye. Mr. Webb, aye. Mr. Cardin, Aye. Mr. Carey? Mr. Carey? Aye. Mr. Rubio? Mr. Rubio? No. Mr. Coates? Mr. Coates? Aye. Mrs. Hutchison? Mrs. Hutchison? Aye. Mr. Roberts? Mr. Roberts? Aye. Mr. Menendez? Mr. Menendez? Aye. Mr. Nelson? Mr. Nelson of Nebraska? Aye. Mrs. Hagan? Mrs. Hagan? Aye. Mr. Baucus? Mr. Baucus? Aye. Mr. Schumer? Mr. Schumer? Aye. Ms. Stabenow? Ms. Stabenow? Aye. Mr. Moran? Mr. Moran? No. Mr. Moran? Mr. Moran? Aye. Mr. McConnell? Mr. McConnell? Aye.